Welcome back, everybody, to the Minecraft Short Stories podcast. In this episode, I will be telling the second part to Thomas's story, The Traveler. I did the first part in the last episode, so if you're here trying to listen to the second part before the first part, there's no reason you shouldn't just go listen to the first part. So if you've not listened to that one yet, episode 77, go do that right now before you listen to this one. This story is a listener story, and it was submitted through my website, minecraftshortstories.com. If you'd like to submit a story, just go to minecraftshortstories.com. There's a link inside the description. Go to the submit a story page, fill out the form, and then your story may get read on the show. On the Patreon right now, minecraftshortstories.com/Patreon, I have a poll going. It'll unlock tomorrow for non-patrons, and it's a poll on what you guys would like to see for the next story. So there's 4 options. I want to know what you guys want to hear, so if you'd like to participate in that, I will put a link inside the description. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this story. Another thank you to Thomas for submitting this excellent story, and let's get right into it. The Traveler, the second part, by Thomas. Once again, we settled into a new routine with a stranger. Every few suns it would emerge from its house and trade with various members of the village. Our emeralds were now something that we prized, for with them we could trade for the stranger's wealth. What it did within the stone brick walls of its house, none of us could imagine. Once it even traded with Priest, selling Priest the pungent flesh of the zombie creatures for emeralds. Priest surmised that the stranger must have slain the zombies while about whatever mysterious tasks it performed below the ground. However, even Priest seemed to have finally accepted this newest and strangest member of our village. I made maps of our new village. The stranger even purchased one for me. No one in the village had ever taken an interest in my maps. Why should they? I myself had wondered at their usefulness. But Priest had told me that all of us were born to a unique purpose, and mine was to make maps, and other tools of travel, which no one ever used. Until now. The stranger must be a traveler. Indeed, it had traveled to our village before settling here. That is when it struck me. This was not a stranger, but a traveler. That same sun, I told Priest of my revelation. Priest muttered to himself, thinking over my words. You may be right, cartographer, but it seems this traveler has decided to cease its wanderings and live among us. Perhaps it is no longer a traveler. The very next sun, as if to prove Priest wrong, the traveler left its house and returned to where it had left its boat on the edge of the village. It climbed into the boat and sailed away to the south from whence it came. I went down to where the wooden road extended into the water, and watched as the traveler sailed away out of sight, eventually lost in the blue haze of distance. I wondered where it was going, what the maps of those places would look like. Perhaps it would return and bring me some. I would trade as many emeralds as the traveler demanded for such a map. But it did not return that sun, or the next, or the one after that. The mood in the village was strangely subdued. It seemed that more of the villagers than just myself had grown accustomed to having this creature among us. Even Priest seemed melancholy when he told us that the traveler had probably left us, never to be seen again. I had taken to climbing to the top of the watchtower near where the traveler had departed, and looking out over the sea, wondering at what strange new places the traveler had found. I almost wished that I could travel as well, but that would have been certain death. And then, just before high sun of the 6th sun since its departure, I saw the traveler's boat approaching from the south. I hurried into the village to tell everyone that the traveler had returned. You sure it is the same one? Priest asked. The question dashed my hopes. I had no way of knowing. Even Priest had not been certain at first that our traveler was not the same stranger he had seen so many moons ago. We need not have worried. No sooner had the traveler landed on the edge of the village than it made its way into its house. It came out, harvested and replanted its crops, and came out to trade with us. This began a new routine. Every moon or so the traveler would depart towards the south in its boat, and would return in 5 or 6 suns. Where it was going, or what it was doing, none of us had any inkling, although I was probably the only one who truly wondered. Our village prospered as never before. The traveler built new houses in our village, put down beds, and our numbers grew. It even built workhouses for new workers that had never been present in our village. Leathersmiths, fletchers, and shepherds. As our numbers grew, the number of protectors in the village grew as well. their iron bodies lumbering throughout the village. Then, the routine changed again. Traveler left the village as it had been doing for many months now, but after 6 suns, it did not return. The 7th sun passed, and then a moon, then a second moon. The traveler is not coming back, cartographer, Priest told me as I climbed down from the watchtower just before sunset. It has left us. I fear you are right, I agreed. It is of no consequence, Priest assured me. We have 4 protectors now. Our fields are larger than ever before. The village is safe. Priest was right. Even another stranger could not harm us now. Surely 4 protectors could overcome even one such as that. But we were not as safe as we believed. It had been 2 moons since I had last climbed the watchtower to look for the traveler. I had gone back to my daily routine of making maps that no one would ever use, but something had been different about one of them. The map was not blank, nor was it a map of the village. It was a map of some terrain I had never seen, and there was a red X a little south and a little east of the center of the map. I would spend evenings just staring at it. Where did this lead? The position indicator on the edge of the map showed that I was almost due west of wherever this map indicated. Part of me yearned to find it, but such thoughts were sheer madness. Away from the village, from the protectors, I would die after the first sunset, if not before. I stepped out into the morning light. One of the protectors lumbered past me, glancing briefly in my direction. I turned and headed towards my shop. My work here seemed pointless ever since the traveler had left. At least the farmers provided us with food. Then I heard the village bell ring. All around me, my fellow villagers fled to the nearest buildings. The church was closest to me and I fled inside. Priest was already inside, as were weaponsmith and armorsmith. It's a raid, armorsmith said. Pillagers! My heart clenched at the news. My village had not seen pillagers for my entire life. According to Elder Farmer, the village had almost been destroyed by the last one. Only Elder Farmer and Priest had survived by hiding in a cave outside the village. Everyone else here was their descendants. It will be alright, Priest said. We have 4 protectors. I looked out the window to the west. As Priest had said, the protectors were already rushing to repel the raiders. The raiders were fearsome looking, gray and stern, carrying crossbows. I gasped when the first protector fell to their attack. Granted, it had killed several of them, but there were so many more. Another protector fell, and it became clear that they would all be defeated. Weaponsmith, I said, do you have a sword? I do, he replied. Why? Give it to me, I commanded. He fumbled in his pockets for a moment. I can't, he said in dismay. Why couldn't he give me the sword? Farmer gave us bread. Weaponsmith had been able to give swords to the traveler. But it didn't actually give them to the traveler, I realized. I reached into my pockets, and, with more effort than I expected it to take, pulled out an emerald. I'll trade you 1 emerald for a sword, I shouted. That did it. Weaponsmith was able to give me the iron sword and take the emerald. The iron blade in my hand made me feel strangely powerful. My arms swelled with a strength I had never before felt. I turned to Armorsmith. What do you have? I asked. I have an iron helmet and an iron breastplate, he replied. 1 emerald for each, I said. This time, the emeralds were easier to withdraw. Soon I was wearing the helmet and breastplate with the sword in hand. Priest, weaponsmith, and armorsmith huddled together in the back of the church, staring at me, as if I were one of the Endermen that would sometimes appear in our village without warning. Cartographer, what are you doing? Priest demanded. What has to be done, I replied. Then I opened the door of the church and stepped out into the village. I heard a cry from the right and ran towards it. Elder Farmer was desperately trying to hold the door to its hut closed, while 3 pillagers tried to get in. I charged into them. It seemed as if I moved as fast as the traveler itself. I hacked into the pillager closest to me, driving it away from the door, then hacked at the next closest, driving it away. The 3 of them turned to face me, raising their crossbows. I should have asked Armorsmith if he had a shield as well. I charged and slew the first pillager. The other 2 also dropped quickly, but not before I had been wounded. I ate a loaf of bread to heal myself and glanced around the village. 2 of the protectors were still standing, but they were obviously wounded. Their iron skins were cracked and gouged. Food healed us. Perhaps iron would heal them. I grabbed an iron bar from the ground where one of the protectors had been slain and gave it to the protector. As I had hoped, the cracks in its iron hide filled in with metal. The rest of that sun was a blur. I raced back and forth across the village, killing pillagers and taking cover to eat as much bread as I could to heal my wounds before launching myself back into battle. When the third protector fell, I used the arrow it dropped to heal the one remaining. The sun was halfway past noon when the last of the pillagers fell to my blade. The last protector stepped up to me and handed me a rose before turning to resume its patrol of the village, as if nothing had happened. As I had killed each pillager, those same green lights I had seen the traveler absorb from the witch had flowed into me. I felt stronger somehow, more determined. I knew that the next time the village was attacked, I'd be able to defend it. The rest of the villagers emerged timidly from their shops and houses. We had lost many. Fletcher and Leathersmith were missing, as were a few of the junior farmers. The villagers looked around, and then a great cheer arose from them, and fireworks launched into the air. I hadn't known we had fireworks. Soon the villagers were all throwing gifts at me, even Priest. "Did you see that?" I exclaimed. "I saved the village. Next time we're attacked, we can all defend ourselves." Priest said. "I said we can all defend ourselves," I repeated. "We can protect ourselves. We don't need the traveler." Priest said something, but I couldn't understand it. It sounded like gibberish. Then the villagers all turned away and headed into their huts. The sun was almost set. But I didn't move. I just stood there staring after them. I couldn't understand them. I was no longer one of them. I didn't belong here. I didn't belong anywhere. Then I looked up at the massive stone house on the hill. Perhaps there's still one place I belonged. I spent almost a dozen moons at the village where I'd been born. I'd explored the traveler's stone house and the catacombs beneath it. That was where he had gone the stone to build it, and more. There was iron, copper, and gold in the belly of the world. I stood atop the stone tower looking down over the village. I had dug out more stone than the traveler ever had to put a stone wall around my friends who no longer remembered me. Now the village was truly safe, even from pillagers. Now it was time for me to go. I had a full load of supplies, including a stack of blank maps. I pulled the one map from my pack that had fascinated me for so long. It was time to go and find out what was at that tantalizing X on the map. Perhaps there would be answers. I left by the eastern gate with the map as my compass. Now I was the traveler. I stopped on a nearby hilltop to look back at the village. Atop the eastern wall, a lone protector stood looking toward me. Did it remember me? Was it the one that I had saved during the pillager attack? I fought down the desire to turn back. There's nothing left for me there. I turned to the rising sun and continued on my way. Behind me, the protector turned and hopped down from the wall to patrol its village. The end. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. And this is new, but if you guys have any constructive criticism or story ideas, or even just telling me what I've done well on the show or what I need to improve on, I'm planning on setting up a new forum besides the Submit a Story forum on the MinecraftShortStories.com website for such feedback. But for now, if you want to do that, just submit it through the normal Submit a Story page. Don't submit a story, but, submit things I just mentioned. Or you could also submit things you want to see on the show, new series. But anyways, just wanted to let you guys know that that was an option. Anyways, along with the website, make sure to check out all the other links inside the description. Another thanks to Thomas, and I'll see you guys inside the next episode.